sensory motor training skills and auditory training skills. Okay.
This is for which level? Is it set 1? Set
What is that?
Year 3.
Year 3s.
Year 3.
Okay, must understand the students. The students from our schools are basically, our profile students are basically students who doesn't make it, who fail the PSLE. So they have very low literacy skills, and many of them, by virtue they fail the PSLE, are also quite a number of them are special needs students. And so that as a result, we find that the origin when we do this training was that hopefully when you are successful and you can actually share with other across the board for the other PE programs and all that. That's why we went on this project. Okay, so the idea was to target the sensory motor training and the auditory training, the hearing, sound, and realize, and to improve the reading skills. Okay. Okay, so we call it the BBC because we want to make it sound high class. Okay, so we call it brain-body connection. Realize the brain and body. Somehow there was the theory behind that somehow the human being, the body and the brains, if they're not in sync, somehow something will go wrong. For example, why the child need to crawl, the whole learning of the crawling process is helping the child develop the brain, the left brain and the right brain. Okay, this is the best I learned from the specialists. Okay, so we went on 2 parts program. The sensory motor skill is a Bella Vis, which we will show today. Right, it is a program on basically on rhythm and sound and pattern. And then the auditory training skill, the hearing skills, where the student goes through a test on hearing, a reading program, and from that test on using a fast forward program. Okay, as a result, we test the student reading achievement by the SWOT score. So the student reading age score, and also the other one is the Bella Vis test as the students' coordination. So we have 2 battery of tests, testing their perceptions and movement skills and testing their reading and listening skills. Okay, the Bella Vis is basically, like I said, it's very different rhythm because we understand in every aspect of a person is rhythm. Your heart is a rhythm, right? When you read songs, you learn best in a certain rhythm. You find that you realize that people learn best and remember best when you put things in the rhythm. That's why when you teach English, you make the rap sound music, and you find that you remember better. When there's just the rhythm monotonous, so you find that rhythm helps, and that's why later on the Bella Vis you realize some of the activity you find that it's just not just personal rhythm but coordinating among them, the friends. You probably learn that later when you experience that. Okay, it's visual, it's auditory, and also the midline crossings is where the left brain, right brain, according to they try to crisscross and they stimulate the brain systems. Okay. So the Bella Vis exercise basically is they start off with the sandbags because some of them coordination. We start off with the sandbags because of it's an easier level, less threatening. Then move on to the racket balls, which is a little bit more challenging, and then later on the balance ball. So the degree of the challenge will increase as we go along in the Bella Vis. And throughout the whole idea of you realize a few things we keep emphasizing: the rhythm, the sound, and what's the third one? I forgot. Rhythm, sound. The sound, okay. So you find that, okay, and you realize that and the student did this, and together they did the welcome. Then time for the okay. What we're going to do now is Mr. Chiang will go through with you some of the activities we did with our students. We did with a class of how many? 8 students. Maybe I let Chiang, because Chiang was the one who did the kids, and he ran through the whole lessons, and he will probably tell you the rate of improvement in terms of social skills, in terms of psychomotor skills, and I'll brief you a little about the improvement in the reading skills. Some of the students' reading scores are very low. I know one of them is as low as a 2-year-old. Some of these students are already 12 years old, but they have a reading age of less than 5 years old. And part of the reason, according to the literacy code, is we believe that the brain, somehow there's a misfunction in the brain system. And so doing the exercise itself, it helps them in the rhythm, and then they can translate them into their reading speed, reading ability.
So even though these activities are very physical, then if they train this, it will eventually condition their brain to read.
It basically tries to stimulate the brain, which probably over the years, in the growing up years, somehow there's some dysfunction, or they just missed it. It basically get the kids to learn to slow down, to follow rhythm, pace, self-discipline. Some of these can be translated into their own learning other than the reading. But we are using reading. We have not tested in other subjects. Just only we are measuring this with the reading ability. We have not tested it with any other subjects as well.
Is Is there a difference in gender response?
Gender differences, is there?
No, it depends on their conditions. Actually, we started this program is because they are very disengaged during our PE program. Because their motor skill is not there. At the same time, their attention span is very short during PE lesson. At the same time, also in the classroom. So we learned from this guy. We called it Dr. Bill Gilbert from America. He came to give a talk, and we attended the sessions, and we find that it's rather useful and suitable for our kids. So knowing the profiles of APS, we have the average lot, meaning that the so-called the failures from the mainstream and things like that. But in terms of psychomotor skills, they have it. They can kick a ball, they can catch a ball easily and things like that. But they are the other spectrum of it, which is we call those kids with special conditions. Actually, they are special needs kids, which they are not qualified to go to special school because they are high functional. But at the same time, they cannot cope in the mainstream schools. So they are with us, but the skill have not been developed yet. So we find that we need to have another programs for them so that they are engaged during the PE lesson. At the same time, they can stay focused. In the classroom after going through a sequence of activities with us. Okay, so we have this Pilates program. So we try to. We have a pre-test before we do. Pre-test means some writing test, drawing and things like that. And we also have some tracking tests. Before we start the program, we will identify students belongs to this group. Then we ask them to lie on the floor. Then we use a tennis ball to track the eyes. See whether the eyes is fixated or the eyes blink easily or the eyes normally they will jump. That means they cannot follow the directions of the ball and things like that. So we will rate them based on the skills, based on the checklist that we have. Then after that we go through the simple Pilates program. Then starting with 1 ball, 2 balls, and with the balancing board, 3 balls, and eventually 4 balls. And through the sessions in 2 terms. After the second terms, we will do a post test, see whether they improve in terms of not the difficulties of readings, but they can follow through in terms of readings, and they can stay more focused in classrooms and during PE lessons and things like that. So basically, this is what we're trying to achieve from this program.
You work with 8 students, right? So those are the ones that are identified. Is that the number of students?
We have 8 to 15, so it depends on the class size, but we cannot be too big.
I think we have enough resources basically for a side group up to 15.
Yeah, 8 to 15.
Because if it's too big a group, because we don't foresee schools generally have that big a group of. So we have to prioritize probably the level of needs.
And it's easier for us because we are able to start a class. That means our principal allows, these 8 to 15 students to be in the classroom. Our PE lesson will be very focused. We don't have to mix with other kids with good motor skills and things like that.
So it's a pull-out session where you work with this
It's
group
not
while
a
the
pull-out,
rest
they are
are
a class.
Strangely, they are a class itself.
Yeah, it's not a pull-out.
So in the sense, it's not like, because one of the reasons they will do together, the observation will be more consistent. So at least in the lessons they learn, they receive from the same teacher. The things they do, they're doing the same thing. So in the sense, if you do in different class, sometimes students respond to different teachers.
But this is not for all the students, right? For selected group of students.
Yes, with the special condition.
Yeah.
And they are a class, so it's not a pull-out.
Yeah.
We put them in class and we have special teachers. And
The identification is done early in the year.
no, based on the diagnosis that we receive from MOE and things like that, when they join us in year 1.
But is this concept, this theory, is it applicable as long as you find that you want to improve the child's focus and conditioning? Is it applicable? Yeah.
So far, it's encouraging the results that we have and things like they are able to follow instructions and they are able to stay true with an activity.
Yeah, because we both work with it. Some of them really are very low attention span, really, and psychomotor wise also. So we realized that as we both of us did the post test and the pre-test, and we realized that the difference is for some of them is very remarkable. Really remarkable from a grade. It was grade of 1 to 5. One of them started with grade at level 1, very low, and then actually in some of the battery of tests they can improve to at least 3. which is quite substantial in some areas. In the sense of their own self-confidence, we see that level. We are doing this not because we're not, honestly, we are not sure how effective this is. So we want to try the most challenging group first, and we hope one of the things behind the PE department is that if this is workable, we want to even incorporate this in part of our PE lessons. And and then one of the things we are able to get the education support group in is because their belief in that the rhythm and the thing and sound also can transfer in the students' ability to read, because they are believe that reading is a rhythm. And so they did their own battery of tests on them, and we realized that there are improvements. But from our PE side, we realized that the psychomotor for these kids really is quite significant. And it's very simple exercise. Later we're probably going to do through that, and you'll probably understand.
Because they will experience success and things like that for many of them. Instead of playing a normal games.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm also asking this thing about gender, whether it can transfer, because at JC level, the students who did the worst, the one that cohort, they have very common problem. They can't read through the whole question and understand the question. So really after a while they what's happening? So we see that as a skill that they have not developed from young. Yeah.
We have not tested, because my JC probably is 17. Probably, right? 17.
Correct. But
So,
it's always the same thing. It's because they don't have the concentration to read and process the information for long. After a while, they just get lost. And that's it.
maybe we can try the JCs. But we have tried with 12 years old.
What I'm saying is, when you go through this psychomotor skills kind of thing, when you go through that, is it that you are learning the skills again and again, rather than actually improving your concentration? You see, when you do certain things repetitively,
Because they say rhythm. Not too sure whether rhythm is the same as
So in order to be successful in the skills, certain condition has to be met. They call the sweet spot. The moment you got the skills right, that means somewhere inside your coordination that your body somehow, the left brain, right brain suddenly get something sweet spot on, just like in tennis. And after a while, you just get it because somehow inside the brain system they have found the sweet spot. And so as far as I understand, when I'm hearing from the experts, that when activities that stimulated the brains, the left brain, right brain, get them to crisscross with each other, and then somehow you hit the sweet spot. And so when the moment the kids get that rhythm, they kind of get the spot. So in a sense, yes, the repetitive helps them to achieve the task. But the reason why they can achieve was because somewhere inside the brains, the connection is you hit the connections, and so they can keep going it and over and over. So it's a repetition. Just like tennis, you just hit the ball over and over again. Somehow inside your brain, the connection is there. You get it, and then it comes. So that is a repetition. So yeah, it explains why they are able to do it, but it also explains that what was causing that failure in the first place as well.
I think it's a bit like the repetition. The only interesting thing is that it is something physical into one of the reading parts.
it's like when you do this, you being into a rhythm and using rhythm, right, to actually improve your reading skills, kind of a thing, and you're trying to make concentration.
Yeah. So that's why we excited.
So when you measure the outcome, how do you measure outcomes?
Say again?
How do you measure the outcome?
We give them the same test and things like the readings. We find that they are able to read through. It's not about difficult words and things like that. They are able to follow through the readings and things like that.
Because
and in classroom as well, they can stay at the seat longer and things like that. So we do physical observations and also pen and paper. But it's only to a small group of students, and at least we find that it's workable for them. We have not tried with another class yet. So far, we're only one class we work with.
Because the students, the basic expectation of a student to be able to sit down is missing. So that's why I'm quite curious about JC, because they probably, the fact that in the JC, probably they've crossed that basic requirement.
Anything more than 1 hour, they complain. It's very long. So
Anything more than 1 hour, they complain.
Our kids cannot sit for 3 hours. Maybe you try that, and then as we go around, I explain to you the midbrain, right brain,
Normally
left.
they will start with index and things like that. I will skip all of this.
we are the student, is it?
Yeah. No, there's not enough time. That is the basic.
And
So
give them
then we start
You want to try?
No, I explain. Don't start with 1, 4.
So actually, you try.
Okay, now maybe I'll start.
Yeah, try.
Try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should try.
With the,
And I'll explain
you must move with
the technical. Okay.
Is it good or not?
Yes, I don't think so. Yes, I need. Oh, I must. Oh, I must. Okay, you want this? Okay, let me get a ball.
No,
Yeah.
you can hold it, it's okay. You can hold it one more. So normally we hold it this way, we call it cup catch. You use your master hand is right hand, right? Okay? Cup catch. Then you know how to shake hand with your friends. So this is how you shake hand, right? So you put the ball inside here and this is how we bounce the ball. Cup catch. Please bring it up. Cup catch. Please bring it up. This is a slow motion one. So your ball must be above the waistline. Catch. Okay, and below the shoulder. Okay, can we do that together and follow me? Ready? Go. You only want to hear one sound. That means I want to hear pop pop pop. It's unanimous. Okay? Okay, go. If you are too fast, adjust yourself. If you are too slow, adjust yourself. Yeah, good.
You notice the rhythm coming in, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, good.
So there must be a leader, lah, right?
Yes.
So someone to lead.
Eventually, they don't need a leader because they can use their hearing
Yeah, after
and
a
they
while-
adjust
The rhythm.
themselves and things
After a while
like that. There's no
the-
leader in the group.
You notice the
Yeah,
auditory
They are
training.
not supposed to have conversations during these activities. It's only the bouncing of the ball. So after they know the master hands, they can then you have the non-master hands and things like that. Then you have to go. Ready? Go. Okay, good. Okay, stop. Then I will ask them to practice. And this one, for us, is very easy because we are so-called normal. It will take about 3 weeks a month to master this, which is 1 week, 2 lessons. So quite some time. Then after that, I will give them another ball, 2 balls now. Then bounce the same way like just now. Okay, remember, remind yourself, bounce, cup catch, bring it up, cup catch, bring it up, and bounce. Okay, ready?
both hands.
Both hands
Together.
Yes. Ready? Go.
This wall.
It's the strength that you push the ball down. Yes, the ball. Yes. Right. Yes, the floor. This is not. Okay, my school is different. We have the laminated flooring, so it's easier to bounce.
There's a hollow here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's best way trying to think
The
that
student will not know. We will know. So we will affect our bouncing. So we have to adjust
I
ourselves.
thought it's my left hand is not so
No.
conditioned.
It also play a part as well.
It's right here, you see, the floor.
Yes. So you'll be able to do this. That means it'll be good. Then after that, ask the students to bounce by the side as well. Left, right.
I wonder it trains their focus.
yeah.
Can we do this? We go left first, then we right. Ready, go. That is right. Let's go. Left. We start with left. Yeah, left. Okay, ready, go. So then we take left,
Oh, from here, then you go down.
yeah. Oh. Okay, prior to all this, I will treat them with bean bags. That means pass around the bean bags and things like that. So they are used to the directions. Okay, maybe you try again. Left, right, left, right. We just continue. Okay, ready? Okay. So fast fast forward. After they master this, then they have to walk the ball. Same thing. I play first, then you do this. Of course, we don't do it. Okay, this way. Then after that, backwards. Same
Yeah.
thing. Backwards. Then we follow the legs.
I should ask my mom to do
This
it.
one will take.
Because you, those of you went to the brain gym thing, you realize the mid center, we are trying to cross the mid line of the brain. Yeah.
Remember when we do all this, we are doing together. I mean, we are not emphasizing individual skill, how good you can bounce, no. It's the bouncing together, the getting the rhythms right and things like that. So after you have mastered this, everything, this has come another level. So you have to use 2 hands to hold a ball. 2 hands. Now it's up to you, left hand or right hand up to you, okay? Then you have to bounce 2 balls in front. But most of the students never, at the end of the second term, they are able to do it. So you see how I drop the ball. Not this one. A lot of you all make the mistake as in dropping the ball inside. No, there's no control. So the ball is the index fingers and the thumbie there. So you drop first, then you do this. This is the normal bouncing and things like that. That means left and right. After they have mastered this, we do the windmill. Windmill meaning that it's different now, it's backwards. So they will try to do this. After they learn their master hand, left hand for example, then they will learn their right hand. Okay, maybe you want to try this one.
One term.
Try first.
Okay, this is a fun part.
This is very important. Whatever theory cannot explain here, but if you stay focused to the ball and you count, okay, and the strength that you use to bounce the ball, you're able to help them to stay focused very much.
What kind of ball is this?
It's a racket ball.
Now right hand
Racket ball.
also.
American racket ball. The key is sound. It's still very auditory.
It's a bit like, it's not squash balls. What kind of racket?
The American racket ball is a small one.
With special condition can do it.
I can go for class.
It's a sound. It's a sound. It's a sound. I also have.
Better.
It's an eye and a sound. It's eye and a sound.
Actually, they have to do it with both hands, left and center.
It's an eye and a sound.
No wonder they train their focus.
Focus.
So all this takes 2 years? 1 year?
No. This one maybe.
One semester.
Yeah. And that's why the fundamental is very important. Just now I say when you the handshake way, cup catch, bring it up, handshake way, cup catch. So if you know this fundamental, so when you bounce, the strength that you use is the same. I saw a lot is like that.
Yeah,
Then,
correct.
no. You see, see I do the catching.
What about we
Try. Everybody ready? Go. So you have to stay focused.
playing? Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the branch of science. Yes. Yeah. We try this project with a group of special needs students. Part of the reason they're concentrating. Xiang is the one who worked with the group, reading. Yeah.
Very disengaged in the lesson. And these are simple, achievable successes. No, this one. About 4 weeks. So it's progressive.
We have one mother who did this. One of my colleagues said he was kind of insomnia. After we went through with us, just as part of the teacher's sharing, she said, "When she can sleep so well.
Really?
It relaxes the brain.
Wow, I think so. I think
It relaxes the
like
brain.
the rock climbing.
You help the brains to go in the rhythm, the Zen kind of, and after that, and part of the reason, part of the reason because our kids when they come in, the brain wires are all gone. I mean, it's all crisscross. So this help is kind of like rewire them back again. That's the whole idea. It's very. We have seen it with the special needs. We've not seen it with. We did it one of our cluster speeches, and the teacher who was say I got insomnia. Then when she went through that whole afternoon doing it, I can sleep so well. See, somehow the brain get relaxed. Which one?
Bounce like this. Yes, and they are able to do it their own.
Oh, dominant hand. The key, yeah, rhythm. The key is the sound. You listen to the rhythm. You get the yes.
Once you get the rhythm,
Yeah, once rhythm, and then when it's the whole thing is about rhythm. Once the kids get the rhythm, the brains goes into rhythm. The whole theory behind this is the brain.
Because I may have to do this at the cluster board meeting.
One will do lah.
We do it at cluster board meeting. What do you want me to do?
And then the trainer.
Start from the simple one, maybe one call first, and it's how you say, Chris can.
I cannot. Very good.
How long do you take? Okay, because we are more brain wired, I took about 2 weeks. For the kids, it will take about 4 weeks. Because part of the reason is that our kids, when they're specialists, is the whole brain gym thing, the wires, the brain don't get.
Benefit is this.
Yeah, what's the benefit?
It helps the brains rewire. Because part of the thinking, somewhere in their growth process, the wires, the brain connections are off. That's why I call it connections. So when you do this, the rhythm part, they help us get back into the rhythm connections, the brain connection. So it's the scientific thing which I cannot explain because the guy who did this is no longer with us. It was started by this.
So the benefit is, do you see some
Few benefits.
more focus?
More focus, more able to stay focused, and they get this thing of rhythm which is we cannot explain it, but they be able to read because the literacy coach felt that students read because of a certain rhythm. We read this, and once you get it in, they can read better. They can stay the focus, and they learn to listen better. So they become more focused. Socially, they become better because they are getting to engage with each other.
It's true. It's true. That's why music education is very much tied
That's
to brain development.
that's why music has
Music,
rhythm.
there's rhythm.
So in fact, in all of our life, there is rhythm. Our heart has a rhythm. Music is rhythm. You try and play rock music during exam, you sure get failures. But here's smoothing music.
Should go and stand this Mrs. Chan so you can help if I want.
Fast forward, fast forward. Left and right hand, you have to do both hands with the ball. Okay, ready?